Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Day-to-day vocabulary, business analyst vocabulary mastery session. So today we will go through the vocabulary business analysts required when business analysts are gathering requirements. Okay. So today we'll talk about requirement gathering and analysis. All right. Okay, so as usual we have actions and objects. Okay, so today's set of words we will go through elicit. So you will learn about elicit. So what the business analyst eliciting? Requirement. So what is a elicit? What does it mean? Elicit: collect information through interviews or surveys. So when business analysts are working in a project, so you need to talk to business, or you need to analyze a system and elicit requirement. Okay. So next one, analyze. Analyze, I think we already talked about this one. So what we are analyzing? So analyzing data. So data means nothing but it's a piece of information, right? So we are interested in examining patterns, trends, or gaps. So when we talk about business analysis, so you are analyzing maybe a current process, right, to build a new solution. Next one, document. So you will be using some tools like a Confluence or some other doc types, VCO, Word, to document the project or requirement, the current state or future state. So requirement documenting is nothing but write down detailed specifications. Prioritize. What we prioritize? Features. Decide which requirement matter most. So when you are working with a project, so there are multiple enhancement or new build, multiple things come up in your way. So you are not able to work everything in one shot, right? So you need to prioritize which feature is required. So we call as MVP, minimum viable product. So you can talk to your product owner and other stakeholders and see what feature is most important to send for production, right? So based on that, you can decide which requirement or user stories need to be prioritized. Okay. And validate. Most often we need to validate when we build a solution. It's kind of smoke testing, sanity testing, or like after you write the requirement or after you build, you need to ensure the requirements are meet the business goals. So you can arrange a review meeting, like after you test, after you build, you can just show to the business stakeholder, this is what we build. Or when you capture requirement by listening to a meeting, you can send a meeting minutes just asking your understanding, right? So there are many situations or scenarios. We'll talk about how to validate the requirements. Okay. So next we have refine. Next word is refine. So you'll be hearing a lot this word refine. Refine requirement, refine backlogs, right? So specification, clarity and improve requirements. Before we hand over something to developer, we'll talk about more about requirements, but I'll just give you one simple example. Let's say we want to build a page for logout, right? So this is the high level goal. So we need to break this requirement into multiple user stories. So when we write these user stories, we may not have more information. Maybe there is a dependency, there's an API need to build, there are multiple pieces involved on this functionality, right? So in order to deliver this one, we need to create user story which developers can work, right? So there are multiple items are sitting in the backlog, right? So there are cross-functional teams need to be involved, and there are dependencies. So every time we had a meeting or we clarify something, we update the requirement or the user story or the task, right? So we keep on building the user story or the requirement based on the discussion, based on the clarification which we had with the stakeholder. So we call this process as a refining. So we will take more example to understand how the refine process works. So next we'll move to the review word, stakeholder feedback. So I was talking the previous word, review. So this is very important. When we build every time something, we need to review with the stakeholder, maybe with a business tester. So I'll go back to the same example, logout page, right? So this logout page is very important. So once we have the all the final requirement and the designs, everything ready, we can arrange a quick call with the business stakeholders, and we can show, we can review the requirement, or maybe sending a document by email saying that these are the requirements, this is what we are going to build, and this is how the page looks like. So if there anything we are missing, so we can get a feedback and we can recorrect it and we can rewrite the requirement. So second phase of review, once the requirement or the user story is built, developed by the developer, after we testing, before we testing, we can invite the business tester stakeholders to have a quick sanity testings, user acceptance testing. Okay, or maybe we can show the results what we tested so that we can get a review from a stakeholder. Okay, so next word is map. So this is where your working start, mapping process, right? What does it mean, mapping process? Visualize workflows and relationship. So I'll go back to the same example we were discussing, building a logout page, right? So building a logout page involve in several functionalities, let's say. Okay, so every time a user log off, maybe there is a notification to the backend and saying that or log or something is happening, right? So you will be capturing, you will be write down every entity, like a user clicks here, what happened. So we'll be using a method called who does what when, right? Who is the user, what is the object, what is does mean what the user is doing, what mean the object, and when an additional condition. So we'll capture everything detailed step by step. That's the mapping process, right? The next one, assess. So feasibility, check if solutions are realistic, right? So we can, it's similar, it's go back to this word with review. So assess also important. So final word today, clarify. So this is always, we cannot assume this is how it should behave. So often we need to get feedback from the business stakeholders. So we have to use this word clarify, right? So we need to clarify with the developer, we need to clarify with the technical partners, and this is very important. The main goal is transparency, right? So you are clarifying with all the parties involved in the project. All right, so let's take the objects today. So requirements, we talk about detailed needs and expectation. This is what the business analyst working. Stakeholders, the people are involved in the project. User story is a short description, or like how the system should behave, how the solution should like. Small piece work, manageable work written in a document, okay, using a tool. So we'll talk about some example of user story, use cases, scenarios showing how user interact with the system. So you'll be hearing this word more frequently. So the example I'm talking about, logout use case. Okay, there are multiple use case in that scenario. So scenario is different, use case is different. So scenario is logout, and use cases are user can come through a inbox logout. You can user can force logout, click the X button. So there are many use cases in that scenario. Surveys, self-explanatory this word. So questionnaires and gather feedback once the project is done or before the project, or this also will go to requirement gathering. Okay, these surveys. All right, so let's go to the next one, meeting notes. This is very important. So you day to day your job, you will have multiple or many meetings. So talking to stakeholder, talking to a tech partner, clarifying things or explaining things. So this is what business analysts will do: listening, writing, whatever it's listen, business analysts write and explain. So this will happen through emails or through meetings, right? So whenever this listening or any explanation happen, the good practice is send a meeting notes to summarize what we discuss, who is the owner, who is the responsible, and key item and action item. So we got meeting notes. Flow charts, it's a very important thing. Visualize the entire process, entire system, whatever we are going to build, what is expected, that we are putting in a flow diagram which everyone can understand the bigger picture. Data model, how the data models, we'll talk about why this is important. So visual representation of data relationships. Let's say we have 2 users, 3 users, technical components, microservices, databases, and tables, columns. So how, like, think about data models are like that. What is the responsibility for each entity, right? Put it that way. Data models are nothing but we have technical component. Those technical component has entities. Those entities has a relationship with different components. So we build data models and to store the data. We'll talk about data models. Okay, prototypes, preliminary models to test ideas, right? So prototype we call as a POC, right? Proof of concepts, right? Prototype. So some big projects, before we try a solution, before we try a vendor. So you heard about free versions, right? 10 days free. You can try it out. If not work, you can cancel anytime. Memberships, similar concept. Prototype here. It's going to be a big undertaking. Before we spend time and energy and money, everything, we'll test it out, small proof of concept with the minimum work, and we'll build something, see if this is working, if we are going to achieve the expected results. So we call as prototype or POCs. Wireframes, let's go with the flow chart. Structure of the system, right? So this go with the flow chart or wireframe. Okay, all right. So those are the main vocabulary I would like to go with you today. Okay, I hope this is useful for you. We will see another set of vocabulary. Until then, thank you and have a good day.